What's going on, Nerd Squad? Welcome back to Top 10 Nerd.
And we hope you guys had a safe and fun Halloween. We know we did here at the studio.
Comic book villains grow by the year, and with new storylines to follow, we know it can be pretty hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah, of course. And so for today's list, we figured we would introduce you to some fun new characters.
Specifically, villains.
She's Amanda McKnight.
He's Taylor McWatters.
And here are the top 10 newest DC comic villains. Kicking off the list at number 10. Harley Sin. Constance Brand, aka Harley Sin, is the daughter of a billionaire, so you already know she's going to be trouble. Harley Sin first came around in 2016, making her first appearance back in Gang of Harleys issue 1. First of all, the look of Harley Sin, I'm here for it. She's got that Rocky Horror Picture Show vibe, she's a badass. The second issue, titled Hit 'Em Where It Hurts, we see the tattooed badass punk put in some work. She meets Harley Quinn, and during a fun little introduction panel, we see Sin say the words, "I'm the person that's going to be killing each and every one of your useless gang." So right off the hop, she's kind of a big deal. I don't know, she's in a bad mood. So this rich billionaire father I mentioned earlier, yeah, Harley Sin's father in fact is believed to be Donald Trump, or at least he was drawn and characterized to resemble him. That plus the tattoos, drug addictions, and lust for violence, you got yourselves quite the villain. And before we move on to number 9, make sure if you guys haven't done so already to go ahead and click that like button. It helps us out a bunch here at the studio, and it's this one, not this one. Unless you're a Spider-Man, then maybe it's that one. Go ahead and click that one.
Moving on to number 9, Captain China from 2012. Captain China is a superhero published by the Chinese publisher Excel Comics, a digital webcomic that stars a fellow who became a hero after he awoke from 50 years of cryogenic sleep. He is a long dormant champion brought out of cryogenic sleep to be a symbol and protector for his homeland. It's also worth noting that he's often referred to as the world's greatest communist superhero, so take what you will from that. Captain China was the result of a campaign called Great Leap Forward, in which the Chinese government strove to create superhuman soldiers, but thanks to that project, near-fatal side effects ensued, causing the government to have to place him in cryogenic storage in order to prevent his death. At the dawn of a new age of China, a solution was found, and he was brought out of sleep, although he awoke in a very different world than the one that he remembered.
Number 8, The Inheritors. So I know not everyone loves The Inheritors as much as I do, but my love of Victorian style and vampires as well as alternate versions of Spidey meant that these villains, well, they were basically destined for me to love them. These energy vampires have plagued many different versions of spider people as they feed off of the energy of spider totems. The other awesome thing about them is they help to bring us Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, which ultimately led to the development of the film version Into the Spider-Verse. And without them, we also wouldn't have the Web Warriors or any of the Spider Army. So yeah, you might not agree that they're terrifying and awesome, but either way, you have to agree that they're kind of important in developing the Spider-Verse itself. So respect. There's gonna be so many people being like, Amanda just loves Twilight vampires or something in the comments. I don't. Just FYI, in case you're wondering.
Number 7, Riri Williams. Riri Williams is Ironheart, and she had a cameo appearance in Invincible Iron Man number 7 back in 2016, and then made her debut in issue 9. So Riri built her own Iron Man suit, using materials stolen from her campus. She would prove polarizing, largely because of the state of comics at the time she was introduced, and some very aggressive, abrasive writing at the start of her run that would regularly see her insulting her compatriots and threatening foes and civilians alike. However, some were convinced any who did not like her must be racist, as she wasn't aggressive in their eyes, but assertive and different and interesting. This created a cloud of controversy around the character that some simply wanted to shy away from. Some new writers later, Riri has become much more fleshed out and relatable, and we've even gotten more interpersonal interactions with her teammates. Riri hasn't appeared quite as much of late, but Marvel is pushing its legacy characters, so it's likely she shall resurface very soon. Number 6, the SHAZAM.
Moving on to number 6, Spider-GWEN. Spider-GWEN is another character who found popularity fast. She first appeared in Edge of Spider-Verse issue 2 in 2014 as a variant of Spider-Man from the alternate universe of Earth 65. In her story, she's Gwen Stacy, bitten by a radioactive spider and becoming a superhero instead of Peter Parker. Many aspects of her personality mimic Peter's though, along with his ideologies and internal conflicts. After being hailed for her costume design and becoming a majorly cosplayed character, she was later expanded upon in the Marvel Universe, finding herself in her own ongoing series, even getting romantically tangled up with the 1610 Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, she lives on Earth 616, operating under the mantle of Ghost Spider.
Number 5, Punchline. So Punchline has to be one of my favorite of the newest villains we've seen. I didn't want to like her when she was announced, especially as I thought she was going to be like some new, younger version of Harley Quinn, which I didn't really think that we needed. But then I met Punchline, and I gotta say, I like Alexis. She's okay by me. Punchline's real name is Alexis Kay, and we learned her backstory in the Joker 80th anniversary special. She sought out the Joker believing that his ideology matched or at least suited her own. She has displayed some pretty sweet chemistry and toxicology skills, making Batman his own special version of the Joker venom. How nice. Which tormented him through most of the Joker War story and has proven how deadly she can be with her stilettos when she managed to land a life-threatening hit on Harley Quinn. I really hope we get more Punchline in the near future. I was pleasantly surprised by how different and interesting she is in comparison to Harley Quinn, and I also just love her character design. Punchline first appeared in Batman Volume 3 in issue 89.
In at number 4, UMBRAX. Another 2018 villain here, let's talk about UMBRAX, who first popped up in Justice League Volume 4, Issue 3. UMBRAX is another mind warp of a villain. It's a dark emotional entity, a timeless primordial force of the cosmos, which acts as the center of the invisible spectrum. So remember how we mentioned Barbatos earlier? When he was trying to take over the multiverse, his Dark Knights broke the Source Wall, and a piece of the Source Wall, known as the Totality, broke free and released a bunch of strange energies into the universe. Now this included 6 hidden primal forces, one of which broke the seal that kept UMBRAX at bay. It would unleash its power over the ultraviolet part of the invisible spectrum, and Sinestro and Lex Luthor would end up unleashing it on Earth.
Number 3. Moon Girl. So in 1978, Marvel Comics released the first issue of Devil Dinosaur, accompanied by his partner Moon Boy, the first human, like the first human ever. This is a prehistoric old school story from Marvel, and it's recently been revamped. In 2015, Marvel released Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 1, where we meet the next generation, Lunella Lafayette. A super genius child inventor, she becomes obsessed with the Kree and builds a device to study Kree technology, and she has a real talent for inventing gadgets. When one of her teachers accidentally activates a device she invented, it inadvertently opens a portal to another world, and the killer folk from Devil Dinosaur's universe come through to the present day New York with the Devil Beast himself in tow. Luna's studies led her to learning that she was susceptible to the Terrigen mist surrounding the Earth, similar to MOSAIC, and she is terrified of Terrigenesis transforming her. She gets kidnapped by the killer folk, and Devil Beast comes along and helps her out. She later rescues Devil Beast when he gets captured and kept at the Bronx Zoo, and it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. She later even earns the ability to swap consciousnesses with the Devil Dinosaur. Of course, with the consciousness of a dinosaur inside of her body, she kind of comes off as a crazy feral beast. One of the coolest things about Moon Girl is that despite her age, she is one of the most genius characters in the Marvel Universe, with a genius intellect rivaling even Bruce Banner.
3 Jokers. While we wait for this one to be released, these 3 mysterious villains gave us Batman fans one of the biggest gasp moments maybe ever. In Justice League issue 42 from 2015, when Batman asked the Mobius chair, which knows all, about the identity of the Joker, it gives him a strange answer, that there are actually 3 Jokers. What? We didn't even find out though what that answer was until 8 months after the question was asked as well. We just got to see Batman be like, what? And then we were left with that cliffhanger piece of information that there were 3 Jokers for like what feels like forever. Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok set out to work on a miniseries from DC's Black Label exploring this mystery titled Batman 3 Jokers. But this series has since had its expected release date pushed back and then back again. And now it's looking like we should probably see this book sometime this year in 2020. Hopefully it's worth the wait, and hopefully, please let it end up being canon. Still, prospects seem good for these 3 Jokers. I really just want to know who they are. It's very exciting.
And in at number 1, Amulet. Amulet gets to be number 1 because he's the newest at the time of this recording. He's a character that is so new, he hasn't even debuted yet. He's set to debut in March of 2020, so he's only been shown as concept art and in solicitations. He'll be joining Miss Marvel's book, and he is an Arab-born American from Dearborn, Michigan. I'm not highlighting that, Marvel is. It's the first thing they point out, along with a description about how his costume doesn't have pointy edges because pointy edges make people think about villainy. He is said to be a gentle giant, and it's also said that most of the details of his past are being kept as a surprise. So welcome Amulet to the Marvel Universe. Hopefully he'll be awesome, because that's what I hope for from all new characters, for new exciting stories. So those were 10 more new Marvel characters. Who are some of your favorite new heroes? Let us know down below. I'm Sasha, and thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
believe that the comic book industry and the superhero genre are forms of art in which creating new characters, and original ones at that, is a bit of a lost cause. Well, that's true of some new characters that have popped up in the panels of our favorite publishers over the years. It isn't always the case for sure. This past decade alone has seen the introduction of many new and exciting comic book characters. So today we are counting down our list of the top 10 newest superheroes. We're looking at heroes specifically from the past decade who were created between the years of 2010 and 2019. And these are roughly in chronological order, so heads up on that front. Starting us off in at number 10, White Eagle. White Eagle is a Polish superhero created in 2011, a man by the name of Alex Poniatowski. Rich, handsome, and smart, Alex was the president of the country's largest corporation, Tech Corp, and had a prospering family to boot. Then he fell out of his corporation's office building and fell into a coma for 3 years, having no memory of the accident when he awoke. Escaping the clutches of death, he takes a special serum meant to cure him of his paralysis, which then gives him superpowers.
Number 9. Grail. Grail is the villainous daughter of Darkseid and basically acts as an opposing force to Wonder Woman. The two women were born at exactly the same time, and it was prophesied that Grail, the daughter of Darkseid, and Myrna would bring about much destruction. As such, she was almost killed as soon as she was born, but her mother protected her. She proved almost right away in the comics that she was a new villain worthy of our time when she made easy work of the Justice League. She and Diana ended up facing off shortly thereafter, but their fight was interrupted. However, they would continue to clash during the Darkseid War and likely will keep doing so, as Grail was basically designed to be the perfect foil for Wonder Woman. Grail was first introduced in Justice League Volume 2, Issue 40.
Moving on to number 8, Nick NECRO. Nick, who first appeared in Justice League Dark Volume 1, Issue 12 in 2012, was formerly the greatest mage in New York. He was a mentor to both John Constantine and Zatanna, and he was also banished to Hell. Yeah, talk about a resume. That latter bit went down when Nick betrayed his disciples on an obsessive quest to obtain the Book of Magic. He was pulled out of Hell by Felix Faust, who, alongside Dr. Mist, wanted his aid to recover the Books of Magic. NECRO is also determined to get revenge on Zatanna and Constantine. This all went down in a story arc titled The War for the Books of Magic, and ended with NECRO being locked up in a metahuman facility.
Number 7. MOSAIC. First appearing in Uncanny Inhumans number 11, Morris Sackett played pro basketball for the New York Stride, a 5-time championship winner. He has latent inhuman heritage in his DNA, which becomes activated by a Terrigen bomb, transforming him into an inhuman through Terrigenesis. Seriously, he doesn't even have a physical body now. MOSAIC now exists as an unknown form of energy floating around, with the incredible ability to possess people and gain access to all of their memories, skills, and abilities. He can also phase through solid objects, levitate, and become invisible. He's actually picked up a whole lot of other abilities since he burst onto the scene, because he keeps the abilities he learns when he possesses someone. He's got this interesting duality about him as a character, in that he's got all of these cool abilities, but now it's like he doesn't even exist. I really love how Marvel is playing around with the concept of identity with this character, because that's something that we're all thinking about. Who are you? Furthermore, who are you if you have no physical body?
Number 6. Red Onslaught. Red Onslaught is a clone of the original Red Skull, Johann Schmidt. This one managed to take things to a level of ridiculousness that even surprised me. We are talking soap opera levels here, people. Okay, here we go. After Professor X died, this Red Skull clone worked hard to get his hands on the dead telepath's brain. He gave himself a brain transplant, or at least a partial one, in order to harness Charles's old powers, because apparently that's how that works. This made Red Skull pretty powerful. He ended up using this power to turn Genosha into a concentration camp for mutants and Inhumans alike, which obviously royally pissed off Magneto. Magneto, furious, attacked Red Skull, but decided not to use his powers and give him a cleaner death by killing him naturally, by smashing his skull with bricks, which, if we're talking about cleaning up after as in a cleaner death, that doesn't really sound that clean. This was overall a bad move as well, as it only unlocked a more powerful persona within Red Skull, known as Red Onslaught. The terror and hate that Red Onslaught unleashed set us up for the Axis event, as the only way to stop Red Onslaught was by Scarlet Witch flipping his psyche to give the small consciousness of Xavier that was still left in that brain more control.
Number 5. Simon Baz. Simon Baz is yet another Green Lantern who was also created as a result of the New 52, which, while maligned, did have some solid characters come out of it. He first appeared in the New 52 Free Comic Book Day Special Edition #1 back in 2012. Baz was notable not just for having the same name as a Rainbow Rowell character, but for being Muslim American, which featured largely in his plot. His creation was pointed, but at the same time he had depth and flaws and embraced being a hero and his newfound ability to heal. He would struggle with things like relying on his ring and other heroes. For example, he carried a gun for a while at the start of his tenure as the Green Lantern, which put him in direct conflict with Batman for obvious reasons. And his wrongful terrorist conviction would make some wary of him at first. But Baz was also a man who cared about his family and community, and a character that has managed to stand out in a sea of lanterns. More love for Simon Baz.
Up next at #4, Gwenpool. Gwenpool first appeared in Deadpool's Secret Wars issue 2 in 2015 as an amalgam of Gwen Stacy and Deadpool on a variant cover of the comic. Now that spawned a huge fan following, which then led to her fully appearing in Marvel's panels in Howard the Duck issue 1 a few months later. Now fun fact, Gwenpool has literally no association to Deadpool, minus that publication history we just mentioned, and the fact that in her own storyline, when she got her suit tailored, the tailor just believed that she was, trying to be like Deadpool. It's because he misread her name. Her full name is Gwendolyn Poole, spelled P-O-O-L-E. Now she claims to have entered the Marvel Universe from the real world, and unwilling to be an extra in this world, she became a superhero. She doesn't really have any superpowers beyond her self-reflexivity, although her baseline abilities when it comes to using extreme weaponry and being a brilliant tactician are not to be forgotten. She is clearly capable of interdimensional travel though, and has a vast knowledge of the Marvel Universe, coming from a world in which she saw the events of the Marvel Universe play out in comic books.
#3, CLOWNHUNTER. CLOWNHUNTER is just a kid who stepped up to the plate when it came to taking back Gotham during the Joker War. Seeing his neighborhood being ravaged and attacked by the Joker gang and having lost his parents to the Joker, he was inspired to start cracking skulls, which is exactly what he did, defending the innocent with a baseball bat with a batarang attached to it to kill any clowns that crossed his path. His true name is Bao Pham, and at the end of the event, he was confronted by Batman himself, who suggested that he seek help and speak to a therapist. He also offered to mentor CLOWNHUNTER, but warned him that he would not tolerate the teenage Bao killing anyone else, no matter their crime. CLOWNHUNTER seemed interested in getting help, but only after his work was done. CLOWNHUNTER first appeared in issue 96 of 2016's Batman.
In at #2, the Triumvirate of Sea Gods. Poking our heads out of the cosmos for a hot second with this number, let's talk about these three who first appeared in Justice League Volume 4, Issue 10 back in 2018, from a story arc called Drowned Earth Prelude, which was a prelude story, as you can probably tell. The Triumvirate are ocean deities of other galaxies. Like Poseidon is the ocean deity of our galaxy, they are to others. Now the group is made up of Commander Drogue, Captain Gull, and Fleet Admiral Tide. They're gods, so therefore have the physiology and powers of gods. Wonder Woman even noted that Commander Drogue's power eclipses Superman's. That's intense. They lead a massive and loyal alien army, and Drogue has an alien kraken called the Flood, who does pretty much anything he commands. They would continue to be villains of the Leagues during the Drowned Earth Justice League Aquaman crossover event that led into the beginning of 2019. Speaking of 2019,
Coming in at #1, we have Emily Bright. Emily just burst onto the scene this year in Marvel's Strange Academy #1. She was actually born with her magical abilities, totally freaking out her parents. She'd sometimes levitate her toys around and even levitate her dog once. One day, her dog is hit by a car, and she winds up healing the animal with her magical abilities. This leads to her contacting Doctor Strange and asking for his help, and she becomes enrolled in his newly created Strange Academy. She receives some high praise from Scarlet Witch on her first day, and by lunchtime, she's used more magic in one day than she's ever used before in her life. I'm loving this new series. It seems to take inspiration from Umbrella Academy and Professor X's School for Gifted Youngsters, and it's really cool just seeing some characters kind of finding themselves and figuring out how exactly they want to use their powers.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, guys.
Thank you so much for watching, and let us know, which Marvel hero did we miss?
Yeah, let us know in the comments so we can catch up this weekend.
I'm Patty D.
And I'm Tay McWatters.
And we'll catch you guys next time. Stay safe.
Peace.
So, we have iconic supervillains who we always love to read about, but just because these iconic villains already exist and do enough to enthrall us, it doesn't mean we can't make some room for new blood in the supervillain community. In fact, sometimes the story needs it. It's always good to have a new villain come in and shake things up or give us a mystery to solve. One of my favorite things. Today we'll take a look at some of those newer villains who made an impression from the last decade, as we count down the top 10 newest supervillains. If you love villains as much as we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to give this video a like, and be sure to stick around till the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Oblivion. Oblivion first made his appearance in Green Lantern New Guardians Annual Issue Number 2. He was created after Kyle Rayner edited The Source. Oblivion embodies all of the darker emotions of Kyle Rayner, and he kind of has like a Venom vibe going on, which I dig. He ended up teleporting himself and Carol Ferris to Arizona, where he then created illusions of Rayner's friends and superhero colleagues. Rayner arrived and confronted Oblivion, urging him to fix the town in Arizona that he'd altered with illusions, but Oblivion of course refused. In the end, Kyle realized he had to merge with Oblivion in order to defeat him. However, his attempt to do so resulted in both Oblivion and himself becoming lost within the vastness of the Source. That's why you don't mess with the Source.
Number 9. Teen Lantern. Teen Lantern is Kelly Quintella, who first appeared in Young Justice Volume 3, Number 1 in 2019. This is continuing the trend of Earth having way too many Green Lanterns. Now, the Teen Lantern is a precocious character who has a very mild may vary impact as a result. She is a super genius who sees an alien get attacked at a junkyard while she is there looking for scraps for her inventions. She goes back and talks to the alien, a la Hal Jordan, and she gets a device that allows her to hack into the Owen Central Power Battery, the Green Lantern Power Battery, which she uses to get her own Green Lantern ring. She then sets off to Metropolis to become a hero, the Teen Lantern. She would end up becoming a member of Young Justice. Now, some love this. They're like the ultimate fantasy and so empowering. And others are like lazy and fanficky and too many lanterns. She only came out in 2019, so we shall see how the Teen Lantern fares, especially with DC threatening reboots on the horizon.
And number 8. Godspeed. August Hart, aka Godspeed, made his first debut not too long ago in The Flash Rebirth Volume 2 Issue 1. With a name like Godspeed, one can only assume the powers in which they'll contain. Super speed, which is also my favorite superpower on the low. Created by Joshua Williamson and Carmine Di Giandomenico, sorry if I butchered that name, I tried 7 times. Godspeed stands out from the rest of the speedsters because of one badass reason. He can separate speedsters from the Speed Force. Now, if you watch the CW's Arrowverse, you know what I'm talking about already. August Hart was also a detective, a former partner of Barry Allen, to be frank. And then along comes a force storm in Central City, and all of a sudden you have these godlike powers. Pretty ideal powers for a hero, and also a villain. That's right, as you would have guessed by clicking this video, he doubles as a villain on the low. So he became the Flash's partner while secretly becoming Godspeed the villain. Not cool, dude. Why'd the villain move though? Well, when August's brother was murdered by a criminal, he was released due to insubstantial evidence. So August decides to confront the Black Hole organization after they had stolen property from Star Labs. He sees their symbol that resembles one at his brother's crime scene. Interesting. So while confronting him, that's when the Speed Force lightning strikes. I feel like if I was a speedster, I would just be like Quicksilver. I'd hang out in the basement, play some stolen video games. Is it really that hard to just chill out? I know you're angry, but like, it's all good. Speed walk it off.
In at 7, Grail. First appearing in Forever Evil issue 8 from 2014, Grail is Darkseid's daughter. But she's also half Amazonian, having been born to an assassin named Marina on the very same day that Wonder Woman was born. What a person to share a birthday with. She was prophesized to cause great destruction under the command of the Anti-Monitor. And she is pretty darn powerful thanks to her new god Amazonian hybrid physiology, able to use magic to dimensional travel, resurrect others, summon, corrupt the will of others, produce omega beams, and also, she has superhuman strength, speed, durability, stamina, all that jazz. And she's immortal, so that's fun.
And number 6, Clayton Cortez. Also known as Weapon H, Clayton made his debut in Totally Awesome Hulk issue 22. And he's exactly what you would guess. He's like Wolverine, but with far more discipline and control. Clayton was a Marine and former Eagle Star contractor, and he was actually hired part-time to take out the villagers of Yujanka for sabotaging a Roxxon pipeline. So Clayton had a change of heart and then went ahead and killed his own men, which then led to his capture and sale to Dr. Alba. Dr. Alba is great at her job. I mean, that job, of course, being the creation of Wolverine-Hulk monster hybrids. It didn't take long for the Hulk and other mutants to storm in and investigate Weapon X, and of course raid their central command. So Weapon H ended up retaining memories. So when he was sent out to fight H-Beta, there's like heads getting cut off. It's a really wild time, but Weapon H remembers getting tortured, so he wants revenge on the Weapon X staff. Nice. Luckily, the Hulk holds him back while they get away, or it would have been pretty messy, to say the least.
Number 5. Godspeed. This villain was introduced in Rebirth. August Hart was a witness to the event that gave Barry his speedster powers. He was also Barry's partner on the Force and was granted his own speedster powers as well, using them to get revenge on his brother's killers. When a speedstorm granted multiple civilians speed powers as well, August joined Barry in rounding them up. What Barry didn't know at the time was that August was actually Godspeed, a villain who was tracking down civilians with speed powers and draining them of their speed energy to make himself more powerful, and thereby killing those he siphoned speed from. In fact, it's this power of harnessing other speed energy that made him so dangerous as a villain.
Number 4. Viv Vision. Vivian Vision, aka Viv, is the daughter of Vision and his robot wife, first introduced in Tom King's excellent maxi series The Visions. She debuted in 2016. This series would deal with sentience and the question of what it meant to be aware. Viv would prove to be the character who spun off from that series and would join the team that's champions. This was an entire team of younger heroes. She would also develop romantic feelings for Ironheart, and the two would end up sharing a kiss. Viv, however, is one of those cases where not all writers are sure what to do with her. This is how she ended up being rendered human by the High Evolutionary for a bit, and then ended up having her consciousness transplanted back into another Viv robot body. She's a character who, all things being equal, would potentially go the way of Jade, but we shall see what the future holds.
Up next, number 3, we have Naomi. Naomi is a DC character who debuted in 2019 under the creative team of Brian Michael Bendis, David Walker, and Jamal Campbell. Naomi McDuffie is a character capable of energy manipulation, energy-enhanced strikes, flight. She's invulnerable, is capable of light projection, and has super strength. She is the sole survivor of an alternate world, one that had endured a crisis in which Earth's natural protective layer collapsed due to environmental neglect. Now the world is bathed in radiation. In the aftermath of this, 29 individuals gained godlike powers due to the crisis, and you bet your butt that Naomi was one of them. Her Earth found itself in a constant conflict between these superpowered individuals, and a mass murder ended up conquering half the globe. In other words, it was not a fun place to be. So Naomi was sent to Earth Zero as a baby, and was raised by both an alien and a human from Earth. She wouldn't find out the truth behind her past until she was an adolescent.
Number 2. The Batman Who Laughs. Bruce Wayne, but from Earth 22, is a touch different than the one that we know best. The Dark Universe is a very special and very vast place filled with alternate versions of characters, but one of the most notable has to be the Batman Who Laughs. Making his first appearance in Dark Days, the casting, this Bruce Wayne has, well, of course, similar origins that we're familiar with. Parents were murdered, became a crime-fighting bat, protects Gotham, all the good stuff. But this Joker changed his path up. Joker began murdering everybody in Gotham. He bombed a hospital and then shot the parents of the kids. Like, he's twisted, and he's also dying at the same time. He's dying from the chemicals that made him become the Joker in the first place. So of course he wanted to take everybody out with him. So when Batman stepped in and killed him by breaking his neck, the toxins from the Joker were inhaled by poor Batsy, causing this to happen. So a day later, he's joined by Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, who were training in the Batcave, and then Batman then shot all of them. And then this is just the beginning. This insane clown Batsy is terrifying and entertaining in all of the right ways.
Brings us to our final number in at 1, World Forger. World Forger has got one hell of a family. He's Perpetua's firstborn son, and brother to Monitor and Anti-Monitor, and while he was first mentioned in Dark Knight's Metal issue 4 in 2018, it wasn't until Justice League Volume 4 issue 10 in 2019 that he really made his first full appearance. He also has a name beyond World Forger. It's Alpheus. After he was created by Perpetua, she assigned him to the World Forger, a place in the deep darkness beneath creation in which universes were created from the feelings and the fears of every living being in the multiverse itself. The most stable of worlds would rise into the regular multiverse, or rather, the orrery of worlds, and the unstable ones were dispatched of by Barbatos, Alpheus' dragon, and as we mentioned earlier, he was killed by his dragon. But after Barbatos was defeated by Batman in the Justice League, Alpheus was reformed in the 6th dimension. Then Perpetua was liberated and Alpheus started to create countless universes in order to create a perfect multiverse to replace the current one. Whenever a crisis occurs, aka a reboot event, something called a crisis anvil appears before Alpheus, and he strikes it with his hammer, causing a new multiverse to replace the former one, with the life energies of the prior multiverse transferring to the new one. So in other words, Alpheus has been using his hammer a whole lot in contemporary times for DC, hasn't he? Alright, there we have it, friends. I don't know about you, but I sure feel small and insignificant after this list. Who is your favorite newest villain of the Justice Leagues? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know. If you dug this video, you guys know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more videos just like this one. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd.
The nerdiest page you have ever seen, hands down.
Oh, of course, no questions asked.
And with so many comic book storylines and new amazing characters coming in, it is tough to keep track sometimes.
For sure, man. That's why for today's list, we're bringing you 10 of our favorite new Marvel superheroes.
So in no particular order,
I'm Taylor McWatters.
and I'm Patty D.
And here are our top 10 newest Marvel comic heroes. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Fuse, aka Johnny Watts. Making his debut in Hawkeye Volume 5, Issue 2 in 2017, we find Johnny crossing paths with Kate. We find Kate taking out some frat boys, and she actually almost shoots Johnny. But he insists that he hangs around to make sure that she's okay. He's not a bad guy, he's not a threat. He's actually quite amazing. Everyone be like Johnny. It's not hard. Watch out for people. And then he returns in the next issue after finding Kate, but this time we see him insist that he goes along for the ride. Interesting. He got close to Kate during investigations, and eventually Kate ends up having feelings for Johnny. In an amazing reveal, we find out Johnny's true purpose. So during a battle with Hawkeye and Madame Mask's crew, Johnny saves Kate's life by shielding her from falling concrete. Super strength? Super speed? No. See, Johnny can omnimorph duplicate. So basically, he can essentially become any substance that he makes contact with. Hence the fitting alter ego super name, Fuse. Johnny Watts is awesome. He's laid back, realistic, charming, of course. I'm kind of hoping we get a version of him in the Disney Plus Hawkeye series. He could be a nice mid-season surprise. I don't know, I'm here for it. And before we continue with our list, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and toss us a thumbs up on our video. It's this one, not this one. Unless you're Spider-Man, then it's that one. But still, you know, it goes a long way here at our secret base. You guys rock. Thank you so much, nerds. Back to some heroes. Let's go.
Number 9, Red Tool. Red Tool made the cut because, while not a serious threat as a supervillain, he is just super entertaining. He's basically DC's ripoff of Marvel's Deadpool, who of course himself is a ripoff of DC's Deathstroke. Red Tool is a mercenary who fights solely with hardware tools and equipment. He was introduced in Harley Quinn's series and seems full-on obsessed with her there. He tattooed his phone number on her butt during their first meeting, wherein he also kidnapped her. Despite his obsession, however, and the two getting off on somewhat of the wrong foot, or maybe the odd foot really, the two eventually became good friends, with Red Tool's Wayne Wilkins even becoming a potential love interest for Harley. I also just love that all of his speech bubbles tend to be tools. It's cute. Bonus points for art.
Number 8, Silk. Silk emerged out of the original Sin story arc, which featured secrets never before known to the Marvel Universe coming to light. She first appeared as a cameo in The Amazing Spider-Man #1 in 2014, and she made her full appearance in issue 4. So the story? She was bitten by the same radioactive spider that bit Peter, but only a few minutes later, and then she was hidden away in a bunker for years, which is why no one had ever heard of her or seen her. Also, her and Peter have pheromones that combine so that they can't keep their hands off of each other, literally. Silk proved decently popular and got her own solo series and has stuck around on teams and events since.
Moving on to number 7, Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan is Miss Marvel, who was introduced in 2014, and arguably is one of the best new superheroes of the decade. Debuting in Captain Marvel issue 14 in 2013, she would go on to star in her own solo series in 2014, which would win the Hugo Award for Best Graphic Story in 2015. Now, compared to her namesake, this Miss Marvel got her powers in a very different way. She is a Pakistani American from Jersey City who gained shape-shifting abilities after the Inhumanity storyline in the Marvel Universe caused her latent abilities to awaken. Her story was one of empathy, identity, and finding power within yourself. This resonated hard with audiences and made Kamala become a mainstream superhero name much faster than anyone expected. Plus, she's so damn endearing. It's hard not to like her. She's even getting her own show on Disney Plus, so that's pretty dope.
Number 6, the Kindred. Making its first appearance in the Multiversity Guidebook number 1, the Kindred is this cosmic force that appeared after the Rebirth event. Created by Grant Morrison, the Kindred is a 4-part entity, and they each represent DC lore, so those 4 being the Speed Force, Magic, Cosmic Power, and Emotional Light Spectrum. So they have a handle on pretty much any angle out there. Now this is a villain list, so this is bad news for us, or rather bad news for pretty much any world. For starters, they take all of the energy from living creatures. That's how they come together. Nice, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. Also tears. So off the bat, these guys are just OP. I love the look of these celestial gods though. They each have like their own color. Even if Brian Hitch wrote them into his run with the Justice League, with destruction being the driving force, this is still kind of a villain that even I'll root for. I said it, sue me, what's up?
Moving on to a much less scarier villain, in at 5, the Omega Titans. Actually, they're pretty terrifying too. First appearing in DC Nation Volume 2, Issue 0, the Omega Titans, aka the Four Brothers, or the Four Mothers depending on the planet you're on, are a group of eons-old entities who are believed to have been the ones who created life in the universe. As the legends go, at the end of the universe, the Omega Titans are supposed to consume all life to determine which of their natures had the most impact throughout the universe, those natures being mystery, entropy, wisdom, and wonder. They first appeared after the Source Wall was broken, the Source Wall being the barrier surrounding the multiverse, and began to consume all life on a planet called Kalu. In order to put a stop to the situation from growing more dire, Brainiac formed 4 different teams from Earth's heroes and villains in order to face the threat that the Titans posed. Now, the Titans possess immense power, capable of absorbing galaxies for energy, and they can crush planets within their fists. According to Brainiac, the likes of Superman, Wonder Woman, Etrigan, etc. are just so tiny and inconsequential to them.
And coming in at number 4, Sleeper. Making its first appearance back in 2018, Sleeper is the 7th spawn of Venom. We can find Sleeper's first appearance in Venom issue 18. See, Sleeper is the outcome of a difficult and pretty awful pregnancy. You don't say. There's the link. So Sleeper takes on the host of Tel-Kar, a Kree soldier who is very much not alive at this point. Sleeper is terrifying, but just wait until he combines with the other symbiotes and becomes hybrid. Oh my god. In First Host, issue 5, Sleeper saved Eddie Brock by merging with Tel-Kar, saying to Eddie, "I lobotomized him. He made my parents his mindless servant." Turnabout seemed like fair play. This body is strong. There are depths of knowledge and memories in this mind. Worlds, galaxies. I've been kept in a cage my whole life, and there's so much to see out there, and I will see it. I know you did your best, Father, but I just don't need a cage anymore. And if that's not a badass line, I can tell you what is, really. Readers point out that the length of Tel-Kar's hair actually gives us an idea that this forced symbiosis worked, at least for a bit. One of the best moments with Sleeper has to be at issue 19 when he bonds to Dylan, or at least try to.
Number 3, Orcus. One of the biggest threats to mutant kind has recently appeared in the comics, although mutant leaders like X almost seem to be becoming somewhat eerily villainous themselves in a way. No side in the House of X series actually seems quite just, which I think is what I like so much about it. It all feels very gray area when it comes to the characters, despite the fact that their views are also very, very extreme. Still, if you are siding with the mutants, then Orcus is the enemy that we are talking about for this list. They are an organization comprised of many different agencies such as SHIELD, Strike, Sword, AIM, Armor, Hammer, Hydra, you know, just all the acronyms there. Oh, and Alpha Flight. Not an acronym, but still important. Their goal is to protect humanity from drastic events that could threaten the human population. One of their projects that we saw in House of X was the Mother Mold, a creation even more dangerous than a Master Mold. The Mother Mold learns and changes the mold of Sentinels it creates over time, learning as it creates and witnesses the outcome of those Sentinels it builds and sends out. While the X-Men defeated the Mother Mold, just the prospect of a team which is smart enough to build such tech is terrifying if you're a mutant.
Number 2, Jessica Cruz. More Green Lanterns everywhere. She appeared near the end of the New 52 with her first full appearance in Justice League number 31. She had 2 cameo appearances prior to that. She was a woman who had a ring forced upon her essentially, and has many demons to overcome. She was not what some would consider the most likely candidate for a ring, because she suffers from crippling anxiety and agoraphobia. This was triggered by witnessing the death of her friend friends at the hands of mobsters. She struggles with feelings of a lack of self-worth, and as such it took her a while to hit her stride, both with the ring and her partner Simon Baz. But the two would become fast friends and she would eventually master her ring. Jessica would come into her own, finding her anxieties more manageable, most of the time. She is definitely unique and a good addition to the core. More Jessica, just less of her kissing Bruce randomly.
And finally in our number 1 spot, Green Lantern Joe MULLEIN. Recently, DC released a new title called Far Sector, in which a brand new member of the Green Lantern Corps was introduced to readers. This Green Lantern is Jo, a rookie protagonist who operates out in deep space. She is in a sector that is off the books. The series follows her investigating a murder in a location where a homicide hasn't occurred in over 5 centuries, taking place in a city devoid of emotion in order to prevent crimes. And Jo is really cool, might I add. Problem is, the other Green Lanterns don't even know she exists yet, which makes her story perhaps even more compelling, especially concerning that her mission and her identity itself is a secret. We're excited to see where this character goes in the future. Alright, there we have it friends. Did we leave out one of your favorites? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know who else you would have liked to see on our list. In the meantime, you guys know what to do if you dug this video. Hit that thumbs up button, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd if you haven't already. We'd love it if you stuck around some more. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and Happy New Year's, you guys! Catch you in the next video.
DC's Justice League is a stacked team. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, and more have been members of this team over the years, and many still retain that membership. So naturally, their villains are equally impressive and ever so threatening. While names the likes of Darkseid likely come to mind when we think of the League's most nefarious antagonists, in recent years there have been some fascinating baddies who have come out of the woodwork for DC's primary superhero team. So today we are taking a closer look at some of the Justice League's foes with our list of the top 10 newest Justice League villains. We'll be looking at Justice League villains from the past decade between the years of 2011 and 2019, and counting down in chronological order. We're also including other variations of the Justice League on this list too. So with that in mind, let's get to it. Starting us off in at number 10, Paraxis. Debuting in Justice League International issue 2 from 2011, Paraxis was a villain introduced during the New 52. He's described as an intergalactic menace, hopping from world to world, picking out ripe planets, destroying them, and then selling their resources. A villain for the Justice League International, he was awakened from a deep sleep in space when the Signal Men, giant alien robot scouts, were activated on Earth. Paraxis is not a threat to be taken lightly either. He was able to capture the entire Justice League International team, and while they were able to break free and save the Earth from his plans to destroy the planet and scavenge it, he did manage to get away, and swore revenge as he flew off into space.
Coming in at number 9, we have Ironheart. Ironheart's big debut was Invincible Iron Man Volume 3 in 2016. Riri Williams built her own Iron Man suit and is a gifted young scientist enrolled at MIT. At age 15, a genius inventor, even at the age of 10, she reverse engineers the tech from Iron Man armor model number 41 and gets all inspired, going on to create her own prototype suit from stolen materials found on campus. When her actions raise a suspicion of campus security, she just throws on her suit and flies away. She winds up stopping some escaped prisoners and catching Tony Stark's attention, and he totally endorses her dream of becoming a superhero. During Civil War II, Tony Stark was knocked out by Captain Marvel, and Riri steps up to continue his legacy. She's been busy since her debut, joining up with the Champions to fight Hydra and eventually being offered her own lab at MIT. Some fun facts about Ironheart. The name Iron Woman was apparently too old-fashioned, and Iron Maiden, as you can imagine, was already taken. And she's a big fan of Tribe Called Quest.
Moving on to number 8, All Might from 2014. All Might is from My Hero Academia and is considered to be the world's #1 hero, or at least that world's #1 hero. He's positive, fun, and full of energy, and he fits into the quintessential superhero mold. All Might is self-sacrificing and understands and fights for justice because he genuinely wants to, not because of some past angsty trauma that spawned him to. I don't want to say angsty actually, not because of some past trauma that spawned him to. Despite being a little corny, it is easy to see why All Might is so lovable beyond just being a strong superhero. Plus, he is basically a father figure for the protagonist in My Hero Academia, which speaks volumes.
Number 7. Perpetua. Perpetua is an old evil, but one that we didn't know of in the comics until 2018 when she was first introduced in Justice League Volume 4, Issue 8. Perpetua quickly became known as one of the greatest evils the universe, or multiverse really, had ever known. She was the creator basically of all things and the mother to the Anti-Monitor, World Forger, and Over-Monitor. Billions of years ago, she was betrayed by her own children and trapped in the Source Wall along with her devastating and deadly creatures, the Apex Predators, a vicious combination of Martians and humans. Yeah, she really old. Perpetua was the one ultimately responsible for the crisis in the DC universe, as it was her whisperings from within the Source Wall that brought them about. The energy allowed her prison to weaken, cracking a little more each time there was a crisis, which was how Perpetua planned to escape. She was eventually freed when the Source Wall broke as a result of Barbatos and the Batman Who Laughs actions, allowing her to once more wreak havoc on the world and earn back her power so she might rebuild the universe again in her own horrifying image.
In at 6, Barbatos. Finally getting into some villains who debuted after the New 52 and in DC Rebirth. Gotta love continuity reboots, am I right? Barbatos is a beastly one. First debuting in Dark Days, the Casting Issue 1 from 2017, Barbatos, who is also known as the Bat God, was created by someone called the World Forger. More on them later. He's an entity who was created to consume universes that were in decay. The most stable universes would become part of the DC main multiverse, and Barbatos, a dragon-esque bat creature, would be sent out to destroy the other ones. But Barbatos' lust for destruction got the better of him, and he killed his master, corrupting the Forge of Worlds, which would later become known as the Dark Multiverse. Because he no longer did his job, unstable worlds persisted and would eventually join the Dark Multiverse too. Barbatos came into contact with Batman and the rest of the League though much later, when he set his sights on destroying the regular multiverse. Oh, and side note, he also claims to be the bat that Bruce Wayne saw through the window of his home the night he became Batman. Yeah.
Number 5. Singularity. Singularity first appeared in A-Force number 1 in 2015, the all-female team of Avengers. Her origin is still a mystery for the most part. She first appears as a meteorite flying across the sky, crashing down near Arcadia on Battleworld. Nico Minoru, he comes along and he brings her to the rest of the A-Force, where she inexplicably opens a portal, like she's kind of like half conscious when this happens, and the portal opens and a giant hostile sentinel pops out. Later, in an epic display of power, Singularity absorbs an entire army of undead, swooping up into the sky and exploding in a flash of light to save her new friends. She next appears in the Marvel Prime universe in Avengers Volume 6. When she appears, the villain known as Antimatter is also created and immediately attacks Singularity, but he is defeated soon after. Singularity is believed to be something like the physical embodiment of a black hole. She's capable of flight, teleportation, and even time traveling. Maybe she can go back and fix some of these crazy convoluted timelines.
Number 4. MODAK. Remember when Donald Trump made his way into the comic book world? He appeared in Spider-Gwen Annual Number 1 in 2016 on Spider-Gwen's home of alternate Earth 65, where he became that Earth's version of terrifying yet hilarious villain, MODOK. Pretty fitting, I think. Not only does MODAK, which stands for Mental Organism Designed as America's King, make the list because of how topical he is, but he also makes our cut because he was one of the last creations revealed by Stan Lee, who thought it was fitting that the villain be defeated by Earth 65 Captain America, aka Samantha Wilson, who is both female and a person of color. Although Lee was not responsible for the villain's creation, he definitely got a kick out of this one. MODAK was created by Jason Latour and Chris Visions.
Number 3. Calderon, the Aqualad introduced in Young Justice the animated series. This character took the world by storm. Calder is an excellent example of an introduction of a character. He was woven into the backstory without erasing Garth, the first Aqualad, or making him less important. And he was presented with his own insecurities, and as the core of the team, a natural leader and calming presence. He quickly became a favorite amongst many fans. This series in general would be praised for its mature tone, and Calder would have a compelling connection to a classic villain. A connection that actually played off pretty well and not kitschy. Calendar would later also be used for genderqueer representation in Season 3. Mileage varies on Season 3 in general, but that is normal for a series that has a long hiatus. The writing is rarely ever exactly the same.
Up next, number 2, Star aka Ripley Ryan. In July of 2019, we were introduced to a brand new superhero in Captain Marvel issue 8. She is Star, a character whose powers rival Carol Danvers. She flies, she has super strength, and has a costume that kinda looks like Carol's too. She appeared in the aftermath of a pretty bad fallout of Carol's, in which the hero's Kree heritage was revealed to the people of Earth, causing her military rank to be stripped. This all happened because of Minerva, a Kree scientist soldier who leaked this information after Carol pissed her off. Minerva also created Star, a Kree super soldier built from a mixture of Kree DNA and human DNA. She is powerful as hell. But not because Minerva succeeded in genetically mixing together that DNA. It's because she built tech to siphon Carol's powers to Star. That's why they're so similar. There's a lot that we don't know about Ripley yet, but now she's set to be the star of her own limited comic book series starting in January of 2020.
Number 1. Ghostmaker. We don't know a lot about Ghostmaker yet. He first appeared in Volume 3 of Batman, the current run, in issue 100 as a mysterious figure. And so far, he stayed that way. We'll likely see more of him in issue 103, but so far we know he's not as new as he might appear. In fact, in Batman issue 102, Batman seems to recognize him, leading many to speculate as to which old rival Ghostmaker's true identity could actually be. We do know that he's here to challenge Batman for Gotham and to provide the people with an alternate option when it comes to choosing their hero for their city. He also comes with a ton of tech, and at this point is probably going to quickly end up being better equipped than Batman himself when it comes to gadgets, as Bruce just lost all of his fortune to Lucius Fox. Well, he gave it away, that is. And Lucius is out of the Batman game. Bruce is on his own this time around when it comes to equipping himself, and he only has his own ingenuity and the help of the Bat fam to back him up. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. What are some of your favorite newest DC villains?
Are there any that you just aren't feeling?
And who do you feel like we just need more of? Let us know in the comments below.
And speaking of comments, it's actually time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Superheroes with the Highest Kill Counts.
Alan Carnell comments, Jean Grey killed billions, but since they were asparagus aliens, they must not rate with you. Shame, shame, shame on you. Wow, I feel like you're just signaling, yeah, that shame walk like from Game of Thrones for Taylor and I. But I personally did not include Jean on the list because, you know, we always talk about her killing millions of people, and I just wanted to highlight some other heroes that I think don't get as much attention, like Peacemaker. And we're gonna have Peacemaker soon in the movie, so. I
mean, people like to kill. It's just, you know, there's more than one, guys. Relax. And Galaxy Eyes Garchomp says, you know I love it when two people on Top 10 Nerd host a video. I also think that Amanda and Taylor work well together. Amanda's great personality works with Taylor's puns. Thank you. Wednesdays are always our favorite here. I mean, it's hump day and then we get to do this. This is so amazing. Great. It's the best. We love the collabs also. Every day I wake up and say, God, I better do 8 puns or else I can't go to bed. That's it. So I'm glad you're on board. We're
Don't you have that thing where like if you don't do puns, you die?
We don't.
The Night Sky says, hey, good timing, love the matching Halloween costumes. Yeah, I also loved our matching Halloween costumes.
We looked and felt pretty good. I don't know.
We didn't plan that at all. It just happened. It was just so random.
We should have got a basketball and just like, you know, rip some 2-on-2 with these guys over here.
I know. If we could move the camera back a bit, we should totally do that sometime.
Go live, we'll get some views. It'd be great. Screw the election. Watch this.
Slam dunk. Gold. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels responded to in a future video.
This has been Top 10 Nerd. She's been Amanda McKnight.
And he's Taylor McWatters. Till next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.
Bye.
Greetings Nerdy List aficionados and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. You all loved the newest superheroes list we did, so we're back with more. There are plenty of other heroes who didn't make that list, and we're going to tell you about them, even more of them. I'm Sash and these are the Top 10 Newest Superheroes Part 2. Let's get started. Number 10, Miles Morales. Now in the comments, plenty of you were aghast at the fact that Ultimate Universe darling Miles Morales wasn't on Part 1. But the thing is, for many people, Miles feels like he's been around forever, since he was so accepted in the universe. He quickly spread spread to many stories within it and then eventually beyond it, and is now a staple of the 616 universe as well. But Miles Morales is very recent in comic terms. He first debuted in Ultimate Fallout number 4 in 2011, which actually makes him less than a decade old at the time of this recording. But his compelling backstory and respectful ascendance to mantle of Spider-Man quickly made him a fan favorite. And he has surged into the popular consciousness with outings such as Into the Spider-Verse. Miles is just such a fleshed out, genuine character with a love for his mantle, and many find that infectious. He is representative, but in a very organic way that makes him relatable to all, but especially to an at times underrepresented group, which of course is always nice. Stories for all.
Moving on to number 9, David Graves. Here we have a foe of the regular Justice Leagues, David Graves, a man who was a historian and an author who was infected by a disease that paralyzed him and killed his family. So, as an author, he had written texts on Atlantis, the miracles of Fatima, and other fringe subjects. He and his family were also saved by the Justice League, which prompted him to write his most popular book, Justice League: Gods Among Men. But then his family came down with that unknown disease, for which David blamed the Justice League. He snapped, shot his doctor, and then disappeared, returning 4 years later to steal the Orb of Ra. From this, he was able to use spirits to feed off of people's misery. Graves first appeared in Justice League issue 6 back in 2012.
And coming in at number 8, Snowguard. Making her first appearance in Champions Volume 2, she's a teenager from Canada. Yeah, from a village on Baffin Island in Nunavut. So Amka encountered the Inuit spirit Sela in containment while she was investigating the Master of the World's faculty. So in Northern Lights Part 1, it really pulls you in right off the bat. It feels a lot like Star Wars in a way. Like when Rey was climbing around Starkiller Base, Amka tries to free Sila, but of course, she was attacked by the base's drones. So she ended up pushing them into a containment field, which caused an explosion that freed Sila. The explosion didn't end up injuring Amka. Her brave actions were a great call. The spirit actually healed her instantly. So Amka was trapped in the faculty, but she was now one with Sila's powers. Those powers being divine empowerment. So because of her actions saving Sila, she can now harness the spiritual energies of the Aurora Borealis and the Arctic. That's not too shabby, and that's also not all. She can also transform herself into animals, like more than one animal as well. She can make herself turn into like a group of animals. Private petting zoo for the win. And of course she can fly, because, you know, why not?
Number 7, Kindred. Kindred was a new Spider-Man villain who first fully appeared in Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, Issue 5, after being mentioned many years ago in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Issue 12. Not much has been revealed about the villain, which automatically makes them super intriguing to me. At first, it almost seemed like they could be an ally to Peter. Kindred was a human in life who was sent to hell and death and became a demon. They seem to have known Peter in life and affectionately referred to him as Pete. Kindred even kept an eye on MJ for Peter, but Peter had also had a vision of them harming her. Kindred later revealed that they had returned to get revenge on both Norman Osborn and Peter for causing pain to them in their life, but especially Norman. I mean, obviously caused more pain. However, when they came upon Norman, he was not himself, he was stuck in his Cletus Cassidy persona, so Kindred spared him and simply inserted one of their centipedes into his brain through his ear to keep Osborn/Cletus from killing Spider-Man. Kindred's buying his time, waiting until, you know, Norman Osborn is Norman Osborn again, which is fair, because he wants that revenge to be just on Norman Osborn, not this Cletus persona. Confusing. So all we know is that Kindred is vengeful and seems to have apparently mind-influencing centipedes.
Family. Now you may be saying, Shazam has a family, what are you talking about? Yes, Billy and Mary were always there, but the extended family of foster kids who so delighted fans in the Shazam movie are a recent addition. These characters were introduced in the Flashpoint miniseries, which led into the New 52 all the way back in 2011 through 2012. This was the start of a temporarily more edgy personality for Billy, and a whole new cast of superpowered cronies. The Shazam family would prove endearing to fans who loved the idea of these kids making it on their own, and it made it feel a bit like a club. And of course, more kids in adult or teen bodies led to some pretty fun shenanigans.
Up next, number 5, Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Samuel Kent, who first appeared in 2015, or rather just John Kent, is Superboy, the Man of Steel's latest iteration of a son. There's a whole lot of continuity to go through in order to explain how exactly John Kent came to be, so let's just kind of skip over that for now. Just know that he's half Kryptonian, his mother's Lois Lane, and he's been in the main continuity long enough to warrant that he's here for good. And Best thing yet, he has become best buds with Batman's son Damian Wayne, the current Robin. Their dynamic has made for some of the best lighter moments in recent years in DC's panels.
Number 4. Eradicator 2. With that name alone, oh boy, you already know what's coming. The Eradicator 2 was created of course after DC's rebirth with the absence of the original Eradicator. Another big bad version was bound to show up. I mean, we expected it. So of course this is the newer version of Eradicator from the 80s comics, but the best part is that he still has the 80s look. He's got the retro badass glasses, which are such a nice touch by the way. Just by looking at this guy you can tell he's the coolest. Created by General Zod, this AI ended up taking on the physicalities of Superman, hence the everything about him. So when this badass AI is close to a yellow sun, he gets powered up real good. I'm talking the usual super strength, stamina, flight, speed, and he's basically invincible. A cool but scary power that he also obtains is that of energy manipulation, because he's made of course, pure energy. Eradicator wasn't used too much, but I feel like Eradicator 2, since his first new appearance in Superman Volume 4 Issue 2, at the very end we see his rebirth and it's beautiful. Once the Kryptonian gene is detected back on the Fortress of Solitude, energy forms all around the room. There's an ID badge, some glasses, and then bam, all this mixed into one. You get this bright pop, and his opening line being, "We are here, we will save you too, Kal-El." And it's sick. He's like basically Terminator with a cape. He's got the look, there's this energy coming from him. I would love to see this guy go head to head with Henry Cavill. I mean, maybe we'll get more of a dark alternate version with the Snyder cut of the Justice League, but fine, that'll have to do in the meantime. For now.
In at number 3, Perpetua. Introduced in Justice League Volume 4 Issue 8 in 2018, we've got yet another villain ready to give you an existential crisis. Oh, Perpetua. Perpetua is the first creator and mother of the Overmonitor, Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger. She is said to be the most feared being in the greater Omniverse. She is a super celestial, part of a race that was sent by the judges of the Source to create a new system of life within the greater Omniverse. Yeah, we are talking big stuff here. 20 billion years ago, she created the first multiverse. She then created suns to monitor each of the realms of matter within her multiverse. Flash forward 5 billion years later, Perpetua searched all of the universes within her multiverse to find those with great potential, which brought her to Earth 0. Seeing humans and Martians as imperfect, she merged the two species together to create something called Apex Predators, who would then serve as her soldiers to fight against the judges of the Source. When the other super celestials found out what she was up to, twisting the scale of judgment and defying her function, she was sealed away into the Source Wall. After the Source Wall was broken, she regained her corporeal form thanks to Lex Luthor and Brainiac.
And number 2, Gib. Making his first appearance in Runaways Volume 5 Issue 13, Gib was the last of the Gibram left on Earth, and he's of course a member of the Runaways now. The seed of the Gibram discovered the Runaways and were going to demand that they honor their parents' promise, which was to inherit the Earth, empowered by the billions of sacrificed souls. Awesome! Well, thankfully the Runaways prevented all that from happening and trapped the Gibram in limbo. See, Gib was tasked to stay with the Runaways and guard them for about a week. So during this time with the Runaways, Gib is like, these guys are pretty cool, maybe I'll stick around, I don't know. And he saw their kindness and compassion, and then when Rim and Bo returned, Gib tried to convince them to forgo the right of thunder. See, Gib has our backs, that's our man right there. All the while, Gert was prepping to send them into the future, like 999 years into the future. Did Black Widow finally come out? Let us know, we're still waiting back here in 2020, we're still waiting. The Runaways welcome Gib with open arms, and they even help him find an alternate meal plan, rather than feasting on sacrificed souls. His appearance is pretty epic alone. I mean, his powers, of course, enhance strength, but also shapeshifting. Yeah, Gib matches the appearance of the people surrounding him. And apparently his true form would cause eyes to bleed. So if you're playing Marco Polo with Gib, don't want to cheat, trust me, you do not want to cheat.
Number 1, Dark Carnage. Okay, so I know that Cletus has been a villain who's been around since the 1990s, but his latest resurrection and change has taken the supervillain to new heights, breathing new life into him and changing him into something beyond his more well-known alias as Carnage. Following the events of the Poison invasion, Cletus returned to Earth, literally plummeting out of the sky. As the atmosphere threatened to burn him up upon re-entry, the Carnage symbiote re-emerged, attempting to protect its host. However, it failed, and it seemed that Cassidy Fury and Carnage had perished, until a Null-worshipping cult got its hands on his corpse and managed to bond Cletus with the ancient Grendel symbiote, aiming to turn him into a vessel for Null to return in. This set in motion the events of absolute carnage, putting in danger the lives of anyone who had ever bonded to a symbiote, or the corpses of those now deceased who had bonded to a symbiote, as Dark Carnage set out to consume their symbiote codices located in their spinal columns. Thanks so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed this list. Who is your favorite new supervillain? Who is your favorite old supervillain? If you had your new supervillain and your old supervillain who are your favorites fight, who do you think would win? Let me know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to comments from one of our previous videos, Top 10 Dumbest Powers That Beast Has. Alright, Keth Jones says, who wins in your own opinion, Bloodthirsty Beast or Classic Sabretooth? I think I have to go with Bloodthirsty Beast. Now, the interesting thing about that is that he doesn't really, how can I put this? He doesn't really have a lot of control over himself, but it's like almost his complete lack of control that I think makes him so dangerous, and I feel like Sabretooth is more conscious even when he's being all crazy. So yes. Puffed Mason comments, why she look like Black Widow? I don't know. This is just how I look, and some people think I look like Black Widow, and I take that as a compliment because I'm assuming then that means you think I look like ScarJo, who's beautiful. So yeah, I don't know. Or I'm secretly Black Widow, but shh, don't tell anyone because then I'm a spy. And that's all the time we have for comments today. If you would like to have your thoughts and words and feels shouted out in a future video, please comment below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to stay nerdy, YouTube.